Hello friends, my name is Gajanan Gulgani sir, and today once more I am welcoming to all of you in the video number 2 chapter number 1, the rise of nationalism in Europe. In this chapter we have to discuss about the nationalism movement in Europe, and in the forthcoming slides we have to discuss about the nationalism movements in various countries. Okay, let's start. Question: explain liberalism and in political and economic fields prevailing in Europe in the 19th century. Means in the 19th century, the feeling of liberalism, how did it develop in Europe in the view of political and economic fields? Answer: the ideology of liberalism was an important factor which promoted the sense of nationalism and the nation state. The term liberalism has been derived from the Latin word liber, meaning free. Different people interpreted the meaning of liberalism differently in their own ways. Here you came to know that liberalism, this word is derived from the Latin word liber, whose meaning is free. And the ideology of liberalism had developed in the 19th century in Europe due to the sense of nationalism and the nation state. I had told you which are the four factors for becoming the nation state. Those four factors are: number one, exact territory; number two, population; number three, government; and number four is sovereignty. Okay, these are the four factors which are very essential for becoming a nation state. Number two, for the new middle classes, liberalism stood for the freedom of the individual and equality of all before the law. Here you have to understand the meaning of middle classes. New middle classes, it means the people who were educated people, whose economic background very good, and these people were continuously asking for the equality in the society. So these people were always in the support of liberalism, and they were also asking for the freedom of the individual and equality before the law. Means all the people are equal in front of the laws. Number three, politically it meant the concept of government by consent. Here consent means permission. Whatever government will be ruled to the people of that nation, that government must have the permission of the people. Then only that government can rule in a proper manner for the welfare of the people. Point 4, for some, it meant having the right of private property. There were some people, especially rich people, who were thinking that if the nationalist movement will be spread in our country, then we can have the right of private property also. Point number 4, in the economic sphere, liberalism stood for the freedom of markets. The traders demanded free movement of goods and capital. Here, goods and capital means the people who were the traders, those people were having their separate demand from the movement of liberalism, and that was the movement of goods and capitals very freely in most of the part of Europe. And in such way, the in the 19th century, the the group of people were having various types of expectation from the concept liberalism. Let's move on the next slide. Dear children, you can see here, this is the Balkans. Balkans was the important region in the central part of the Europe continent, and this was the region which was mostly responsible for the creation of First World War, which duration was 1914 to 1918. Okay, I am reading the name of these small countries: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. Children, Bosnia and Herzegovina, this was the most important region, and this region was itself responsible for the First World War. Then Serbia was the small country, but who was also having a will to do control on the Bosnia and Herzegovina, but it could not happen, and that's why Serbia was also responsible up to some extent for the First World War. Then Montenegro, Kosovo, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Albania, Greece, Turkey. Okay, these all the places were part of the Balkans. Into that, Turkey was a big country, and it was having a big region also under its control. Next question is, why did the nationalist tension emerge in the Balkans? Now you have to understand the question. Why did the nationalist tension emerge in the Balkans? Point number one, Balkan region. The Balkans was a region of geographical and ethnic variation comprising modern day Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia, and Montenegro, whose inhabitants were broadly known as the Slavs. It is a name of a ethnic group. A large part of the Balkans was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire means the Turkey ruler was ruling which area. That area was called the Ottoman Empire. This was the biggest empire in those days. Okay, now you have to came to know that which countries were the part of the Balkan region. I have written the Bosnia and Herzegovina in red color because this area was responsible for the creation of First World War. Number two, explosive region. Balkan region was the most explosive region. Why? The spread of the ideas of romantic nationalism in the Balkans, together with the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire, made this region very explosive. Means when the Ottoman Empire came to an end, after that the small Balkan countries wanted to expand their territory themselves. All of them wanted to become free from the slavery of the European countries, and they wanted to declare themselves a free nation. And that's why the ideas of romantic nationalism had spread in a huge quantity in the Balkan region, and everybody wants to develop their territory in the nearby areas. At the same time, they wanted to make themselves free as early as possible from the European countries. Point number three, internal conflicts. As the different Slavic nationalists struggled to define their identity and independence, the Balkan area became an area of intense conflict. The Balkan states were fiercely jealous of each other, and each hoped to gain more territory at the expense of the other. Means when the Ottoman Empire came to an end, then Balkan region had got some freedom up to some extent. These Balkan regions wanted to expand their territory themselves, and for that purpose they wanted to attack on their neighboring countries. And that's why too much internal conflicts had started among them. But most of the people who were residing into that Balkan region were the Slav people or Slavic nationalists, and these people wanted to capture the area of their own ethnic people. Okay, and in this way, the Balkan region was the region where the huge quantity of jealousy had created among the small countries in the Balkan region. Next, point number four, source of rivalry between big powers. Matters further complicated the situation because the Balkan also became the scene of big power rivalry. Rivalry means the feeling of enmity. During this period, there was an intense rivalry among the European powers over trade and colonies, as well as the naval and military might. It means when there were some small countries were fighting, those Balkan countries were fighting with each other. At that time, big power, the big power in Europe also took some interest into that, and they had taken the side of some small countries in Balkan. At that time, the problem of or the issue of Balkan region had increased a lot because the European powerful countries wanted to expand their trade and colonies, as well as the naval and military might, to show to the world that we are the most powerful nation. And in such way, when the powerful nations in the Europe had taken the side of some small Balkan countries. At that time, another country had taken the side of the another country, and in such way, the overall temperature of the Balkan region had increased a lot. Point number five, series of wars. Each power, Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, were keen on countering the hold of other power over there. Means whatever European powerful countries were there, such as Russia, Germany, England, Austria, Hungary, all of them wanted to keep hold on the maximum Balkan regions, and that's why there were the feeling of jealousy and wanted to show their power to each other. And in such way, Balkan was the only region which was responsible for the creation of instability at the same time for the creation of First World War. I hope you understood the answer. L- Let's move on the next slide. Next question. What were the proposals of the Vienna Congress? This was the most important incident which had taken place in the year 1815. Okay. This question can be asked for 3 marks. The basic objective of the Treaty of Vienna of 1815 was to undo most of the changes that had come about in Europe. Means up to the year 1815 so many changes had brought by the Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay, but in the Battle of Waterloo Napoleon Bonaparte was completely defeated, and that's why the important European countries came together and they had done the Treaty of Vienna in the year 1815. And whatever changes were brought by the side of Napoleon Bonaparte, okay, most of the changes were did undo by these European countries. Point number two, the Bourbon dynasty, which had been deposed during the French Revolution, was restored to power, and France lost the territories it had annexed under Napoleon. Means when the Napoleon Bonaparte came on the throne, at that time whatever area was owned by him, that was returned to their uh, respective countries. And once more the Bourbon dynasty was given an opportunity to come on the throne on France. At the time of French Revolution, this Bourbon dynasty was deposed by the middle class people of that country. But after, means in the Treaty of Vienna, it was decided that Bourbon dynasty will be ruling to the France once more. Point number three, a series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent the French expansion in future. Thus, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which included Belgium, was set up in the north, and Genoa was added to Piedmont in the south. It means whatever area was owned by the France by Napoleon Bonaparte, it was returned to their respective country. At the same time, in future, France should not increase their territory, and that's why new kingdoms had established, such as Netherlands and Belgium. These were the small countries which were established on the border of the France. Next, point number four, Prussia was given important new territories on its western frontiers, while Austria was given control of northern Italy. It means Prussia and Austria, these were the two important kingdoms who had played very much important role to defeat the Napoleon Bonaparte in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. These two countries had given the importance in the new territories of western frontiers to Prussia, and the northern Italy was given under the control of the Austria. Point number fifth, the German Confederation of 39 states that had been set up by Napoleon was left untouched. Means Napoleon Bonaparte had done the Confederation of 39 states for bringing the similarity about the trade and commerce, that was kept untouched by the members of this Vienna Congress. Okay, this in such way this explanation is sufficient for 3 marks. Let's move on the next slide. This is the Italy. Now we have to discuss about unification of Italy. Okay. The question, briefly trace the process of the unification of Italy. Dear children, you should be aware that in this chapter we have to discuss about three unification countries. Number one, Italy. Number two, England, and number three, Germany. Okay. First of all, we are discussing here about the unification of Italy. इटली वॉज अ फ्रैगमेंटेड स्टेट. फ्रैगमेंटेड का मतलब होता है छोटे छोटे हिस्सों में बटा रहना. ओके. If you can observe the map of Italy, you will be coming to know that Italy was divided into seven part, and into that seven part only one part was ruled by the people of Italy, that was Sardinia and Piedmont. See, Italy, a fragmented state. Like Germany, Italy too had a long history of political fragmentation. Italians were scattered over several dynastic states as well as the multinational Habsburg Empire. During the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into seven states, of which only one, Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house, and the remaining six uh, regions, the remaining six regions were ruled by the various important countries in the Europe. Only one region whose name was Sardinia Piedmont that was ruled by the Italian princely house. Number two, role of Joseph Mazzini. This is the very important point, and this question can be asked for 3 marks also. Role of Joseph Mazzini. He was the leader of the Republican Party. While in exile in 1831, he was founded a new association called the Young Italy. It was a secret society which was formed to bring about the regeneration of Italy through education. Though there were two revolutionary uprisings, one in 1831 and the other in 1848 for the unification of Italy, but they both failed. Means the role of Joseph Mazzini is very much important because he was the founder of the secret society whose name was Young Italy. He tried to do uprising in the year 1831 and in the year 1848, but both the uprisings or both the revolts had become unsuccess, but he had brought too much awareness among the people of Italy for the unification of the nation. Point number three, role of Kaur. Kaur became the chief minister of Piedmont in 1852. I had told you Sardinia Piedmont was only a region which was ruled by the Italian princely house. So Count de Kaur became the chief minister of Piedmont in the year 1852. His main aim was to affect the emancipation of Italy from Austria. He was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat, but he is known as the real maker of the Italy. You must be aware that who is called the real maker of Italy. Its answer would be Kaur. Though a tactful diplomatic alliance with France, he succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. It means in the year 1859, he had taken the help of France to defeat the Austrian forces and he became success into that. In such way, the role of Count the Kaur was very much important to make or for the unification of Italy. Number four, role of Joseph Garibaldi. Joseph Garibaldi. Garibaldi was the hero of red shirts, revolutionary movement. You must be aware that uh, hero of red shirt. Okay, hero of red shirt. It was a revolutionary movement, and Garibaldi was called the hero of red shirts. In 1860, he marched into South Italy and the kingdom of Two Sicilies and succeeded in winning the support of the local peasants in order to drive out the Spanish rulers. It means the South Italy's region was South Italy's kingdom of Two Sicilies. This region was ruled by the Spanish rulers, and Garibaldi had gone in that area and or region, and he had taken the help of the local peasants to throw away the Spanish rulers, and in such way he became success to throw away Spanish rulers from that Two Sicilies kingdom, and that area was done free by the side of Joseph Garibaldi. Point number five, Victor Emmanuel II. In 1861, the first Italian parliament representing the whole of Italy, expecting Rome and Venetia, assembled in Turin, which formally conferred upon Victor Emmanuel II the title of the King of Italy. It means in the year 1861, Victor Emmanuel had become the King of Italy, and the Parliament of Italy had also permitted to him as the King of Italy. In such way, these 5 points are sufficient for giving the explanation of the unification of Italy. Okay, you may find it somewhat difficult, but if you will remember the 5 points, you will be able to develop these 5 points in a proper manner. Okay, let's move on the next question. What was the impact of the Act of Union on Scotland? You have to discuss here. See, the Act of Union 1707 between England and Scotland resulted the formation of the UK. See, the Act of Union 1707, it had taken place between England and Scotland, resulted in the formation of the UK. It means before 1707, England and Scotland, both of them were separate from each other. Point number two, the British Parliament was dominated by the English members. The growth of a British identity meant that Scotland's distinctive culture and political institutions were systematically suppressed. Point number three, the Catholic clans that inhabited the Scottish Highlands suffered terrible repression whenever they attempted to assert their independence. Point number four, the Scottish Highlands were forbidden to speak their Gaelic language or wear their national dress, and large numbers were forcibly driven out of their homeland. It means due to the Act of Union 1707, whatever freedom was having to the Scotland, they had lost themselves, and whatever laws were made by the England, it had to be followed by the people of the Scotland, and in such way, due to the Act of Union 1707, Scotland had lost their freedom. Okay, let's. This is the map of Germany. It has somewhat blurred, but you can understand the lot of areas was under the control of Germany, and Germany was a very big region. But German language people were spread in the various parts of Europe. Okay, let's discuss about the unification of Germany. Describe the four stages of the unification of Germany. Okay, point number one, Frankfurt Parliament, which was taken place in the year 1848. The Frankfurt Parliament tried its best for the unification of Germany under the leadership of King William IV of Prussia, but it failed. Means in the year 1848, the first try was done from the side of the German people to make the king to William IV of Prussia as its king, but King William IV did not accept it, and that's why the Frankfurt Parliament became insuccess, which had taken place in the year 1848. Point number two, unification under the leadership of Prussia. The liberal initiative to nation building was, however, repressed by the combined forces of the monarchy and the military, supported by the large landowners called bunkers of Prussia. From then on, Prussia took on the leadership of the movement for national unification. Its chief minister Otto von Bismarck was the architect of the process and carried out the movement for national unification with the help of the Prussian army and the bureaucracy. It means Otto von Bismarck, who was the chief minister of Prussia, he had played the most important role for the unification of Germany, and he had also taken the help of Prussian army and the bureaucracy. Okay, there may be a question regarding to write a short note about Otto von Bismarck and his contribution for the unification of Germany. Let's move on the next point. Role of Bismarck. Bismarck was one of the greatest sons of Prussia who accomplished the supreme task of the unification of Germany with the help of the army bureaucracy. He was convinced that the unification of Germany could be achieved only by the princes and not by the people. He wanted to achieve his aim by not merging Prussia into Germany, but rather by expanding Prussia into Germany. It means the role of Bismarck was very, very important because he was the first person who had convinced to the Prince of Prussia that your participation is very much important for the unification of Germany, and he was not ready to merge to Prussia into Germany, but he wanted to expand Prussia into Germany. And in such way, when the unification of Germany had taken place, after that, there were no existence of Prussia. Point number four, three wars. Bismarck's object of unifying Germany was accomplished by three wars, which were fought during a brief period of 7 years, 1864 to 1870. In such way, the role of Bismarck was very much important. He had done the three important wars during 1864 to 1870. Point number four, fifth, final unification of Germany. The above wars ended in Prussian victory and helped in completing the process of unification. On January 18, 1871, in the royal palace of Versailles, the King of Prussia was crowned as the German emperor, and the ceremony symbolized in the eyes of the world the newly born unity of the German people. And in such a way, Germany became a nation state on 18 January 1871 due to the great hard work of Otto von Bismarck and the Prussian king Victor Emmanuel II had taken the oath as a king of Prussia, and later it was become the part of the German. Okay, in such way, bringing together to the German language people, this responsibility was shouldered in a very manner by the Otto von Bismarck, who was the chief minister of Prussia. Okay, this is the very important question which can be asked for 5 marks. Okay, let's move on the next slide. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you would have understood this information. And once more, I am going to bring 2 3 more videos regarding to the same topic. Okay, my channel name is Gajanan Gulgane sir. I hope you will subscribe it and you will share it with your friends for their good understanding also. Thank you.